like to call to order the meeting of Monday, April the 23rd. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Yeah, here. I was going to say yes, but here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of April the 9th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald. Is there any additions, deletions, corrections? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We do have 3 presentations tonight. The clerk would please read the first one.
Proclamation recognizing Saturday, May 12th as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day will be presented to Shelley Cross, National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 529.
Okay, Ms. Shelley's right here? Okay, meet me right at the podium.
Hi. Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I'd like to read this. Whereas hunger affects millions of people nationwide, including millions of children, seniors, and military veterans, and whereas food pantry shelves filled from winter holiday giving are often bare in late spring, and whereas when school meal programs end in the summertime, millions of children must find alternate sources of food, and whereas in 2017, the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive collected 75 million pounds of donated food, which were distributed locally in 10,000 cities and towns across America. And whereas in Port Huron in 2017, 45,340 pounds of donated food was collected by letter carriers, and over 3 million pounds in the state of Michigan. And whereas in 2018, hundreds of households in our country will continue to struggle to provide enough food for their families. And whereas the National Association of Letter Carriers continues to work to end the challenges of hunger in the state of Michigan through its 26th annual Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive. And whereas on May 12, 2018, the second Saturday of May, letter carriers will collect food donations to be distributed to pantries and food banks at a much-needed time of the year. Now therefore, I, Pauline M. Repp, by authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Port Huron, and on behalf of council members Archibald, Ashford, Harris, Lamb, Ruiz, and Warden, do hereby proclaim the second Saturday in May as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day in Port Huron, and urge all people in our city to join in this special observance. Thank you. And if you'd like to say a few words, please.
I just wanted to thank everyone for the continued support of our food drive. It's a really huge day for us. We are the nation's largest one-day food drive. And basically what we ask is for our customers or the public to basically leave their donation in or at their mailbox. They can put it in a plastic bag if it's raining out. I always say that a can won't melt. So basically, we need it, rain or shine, we're going to be out there. We're out there delivering the mail, and we're going to be out there collecting food on that day. And that's the second Saturday in May, always. This year, it'll be on the 12th.
And what's that date?
I'm
The
sorry,
date
May
of that
12th.
second, May 12th? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Move on to presentation number 2.
Proclamation recognizing Terry Ruff for his 37 years as Executive Director to the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association.
If Terry Ruff would like to join me down there. I do have a certificate of appreciation, and also I do believe Nancy Windsor would like to say a few words when I'm done, but I'm going to read this. Whereas Terry Ruff has been the Executive Director of the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association since 1981, and whereas Terry has committed countless hours serving the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association and has always advocated for softball in the Blue Water area, and whereas over the years, Terry has well represented the city of Port Huron, bringing regional tournaments and teams from other states to the city of Port Huron to compete. And whereas Terry has supported the city's efforts to maintain the softball fields by encouraging the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association Board to partner with the city to acquire contributions and improve the ball fields. And whereas we wish to honor Terry today and thank him for the 37 years of service he has dedicated to the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association, and whereas we have been most fortunate to have had a person of Terry's capabilities and dedication in such a position, and we deeply appreciate the important contributions Terry has made to both our community and the Port Huron Competitive Sports Association. Now therefore, I, Pauline M. Rep., by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Port Huron, and on behalf of council members Archibald, Ashford, Harris, Lamb, Ruiz, M. Warden, do hereby issue the certificate of appreciation to Terry Ruff with sincere congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy retirement. Thank you very much. This is for you and Nancy.
I'm not going to pass up this opportunity to embarrass Terry a little bit. So I just want to thank him from the city of Port Huron and the Port Huron Recreation Department. It's many, many years to be doing this type of work. I mean, he makes it look very easy, but it's countless hours, and I know that, of just putting together schedules and just being at the rec center almost every single day to collect the little teeny gold cards and all the stuff that goes with it. And he's brought thousands of people to our community for all the national tournaments, and that's just done on his own and bring to our community that would not have happened without Terry, and I know a lot of people in the back there. So I just wanted to take this opportunity again to, and also I got to mention rainouts before the internet arrived. I'm sure that was interesting. So, I mean, and then protests. I mean, the man never got rattled. Like, someone's in your face just yelling at you, saying, blah, 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 and there's Terry, just calm, cool, collected, and that is just an amazing testament to him, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank him, and I know our director Betty Dunn's in the back as well, and she spent countless years with him as well, and we both just appreciate all that you've done, so thank you, Terry. I'm going to turn it over to Terry's hair.
Now you get to speak.
Well, I've made a few notes.
There you go.
Speaking of all the time here, I want to thank the City Council for their support. It's been great, and you guys have helped us to help make the City of Port Huron Diamonds awesome, and the league's great. And special support from all the recreation people I've worked with, the directors, James Downey, Jim Ladensack, Joanne Plager, Bill Robinson, Betty Dunn, Nancy Windsor, and the rest of the rec staff, Ben Pyan from the Parks Department, Forestry, and all my good friends and helpers, Roger and Carol Vargo, their son Rob, Betty Vargo, Larry and Carrie Emery, Mike Day, Dick Chauvin, Paul Zammit, and especially my wife Sharon. I thank you, and it's been a great time. I'm still going to be around. I'll be at the park still helping out, and I love the city, and I love the ball program. Thank you.
So congratulations, you'll be missed. Thank you. Go ahead, oh, yes,
If I'm,
go ahead. Did you have something more you wanted to say?
I just wanted to introduce my replacement, Paul Zammit.
Oh, but don't leave yet, because we have a council member who'd like to say. Go ahead.
I just hope I can do half as good as Terry did, and I know I have the support of everybody he mentioned and the council as well. And if I can do half as good as he did, we'll be all right. I know he's going to help me out. So
There you go.
I'll
helps.
need it. I'll need it.
It always helps when you have somebody's support, yes. And I believe Councilmember Ruiz.
I just want to say a personal thanks to you, Terry, because of the 15 to 20 years I was able to play ball out there and always took you for granted. The fact that you kept everything going, and you really brought an awful lot to this city in terms of the sports, and just made it a model city for any kind of activity like that when we had those tournaments that you brought in. And yes, you had a lot of support. There's two good people up there, Mr. Vargo, who called me out way too many times, and Mrs. Vargo, who always a mainstay. But thank you, Terry, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for what you did. Good.
Thank you. Thank you. He deserves a round of applause from us all. We will move on to presentation number 3.
Parks and Recreation Director Nancy Windsor will give a presentation on the 2018 Summer Parks and Recreation Programs.
Well, thank you. It's almost time for another summer, which I'm sure everyone's super excited about. And our summer brochures out again. So I just want to take this opportunity to quickly kind of go over some things. I'd like to commend our staff at the Recreation Department. Our supervisor, Amanda Dickinson, couldn't be here today, but her and her staff did an amazing job. I can't commend them enough on the good job on the brochure this year. So we'll go to the next one if you could for me, Jim. As you know, every year we have all our favorite classics, all our sports programs, our swim programs, swim team, all our mainstays will be back again this year and ready for signups coming up here in the second week of May. You can hit the next one. We did look at, obviously our rec center is at Palmer Park, and we do a lot of our programming out of there because of liability and different reasons that we have to do a lot of our parks. So, but this year, we looked at what are some programs we can bring to the neighborhoods. We did create over 18 new programs, even though they're not all listed here. We tried to bring them out into the neighborhoods. So we have, like 8 on the south side, 8 on the north side, and a couple in I call Midtown. But just trying to bring some programming out to the neighborhoods. I know there was some questions on where the programs were happening this year, but we did also, we're fortunate enough to get a grant for our karate class, so we'll be offering karate at Cleveland for no cost. We have Sports on the Go, which will be in the neighborhoods as well, which is no cost. We have our Splash Pad Fun Days, where we're going to be offering meals and different activities at Splash Pad. So lots of really good things coming up in the, it's online right now, but it'll also be in our flyer that'll be coming out here in the next week or so. So if you could hit me one more slide. Also, right here with me today, thanks to the residents that passed the millage, we also are doing a new program, and thanks to Mr. Freed, who, we have all residents from the city of Port Huron will have free parking at both of our beaches. The passes will be available at the booth at Lakeside or at Palmer Park. You just need to show your ID, and one of our staff will come out to your car to give you a free pass. And again, thank you to all our residents with the millage and with helping with that. We're going to do free parking, so make sure you come get your pass because there's lots of fun things going on at the beach. We also did lots of free programs in the brochure this year, so make sure you come see all the good things we have going, like free sandcastle contest, our park movies again. So lots of really good things I think that the public will love to see. So make sure you get out there and get your brochure. And I am going to embarrass one more person tonight. Where'd she go?
Going to embarrass one more person.
There she is. Okay. Can you go to the next slide for me? I'm going to have Tony announce the Rock and the River schedule. But before I do that, Tony has announced that she will be retiring as of June 1st.
Another month.
And this has been Tony's baby, and I just wanted to thank her personally for everything that she's done for the rec department. She's been with us for 25 years. She's done an amazing job. Am I missing here? 25, 26? Somewhere. I'm terrible with numbers. But she's done an amazing job for the rec department. We can't say how much we appreciate all that she's done, and this has been her baby, and I wanted her to come here today to tell you all the great acts we have this year, and I really wish you the best. I thank you for everything that you've done, and I know the city thanks you, so I'll let you announce the...
Nancy,
lineup.
before you
Sorry.
leave, Mira, if I
Oh,
may,
sorry.
the parking pass, are they good all through the year, or is there a
Yes,
limit?
they're gone, good through, for both parks,
Both parks.
Lakeside and Lighthouse, and they're for the whole season.
For the whole season? Okay,
You just have to
thank
prove you're a city resident.
Yes, you have to have an ID that says you're a city resident.
you. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Nancy, and it's been a great, it's probably one of the best things I've enjoyed doing is Rockin' the Rivers. I really enjoy booking bands, so it's been a real pleasure to do this particular event. I have booked this summer's events, so we are ready to go with August 2nd. It's a group called Syriacs. They were here before it rained out. They had to play them inside McMorran, but they're the Motown sounds with all the suit changes and all the clothing that goes with it. So they'll kick it off on August 2nd. On August 9th, it's Magic Bus. They made an appearance at Chili Fest, and it's music from the 60s and 70s. And August 16th, Your Generation, which Port Huron has grown to love this group. We can't seem to get enough. They were also at Chili Fest, so they'll be here then. And then we'll finish it up with a new group. It's a tribute to the Blues Brothers called the Soul Brothers. So we'll finish it up on August 23rd with that group. But thank you again for allowing the Recreation Department to do Rock in the Rivers. It's been really fun, and I'm sure it'll continue to just grow. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tony, and congratulations on your retirement. You'll be missed.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tony, and thank you, Mayor Repovich. Thank you for everything, because you really rock Port Huron.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Nancy, for the presentation. I just want to add a comment there that I had asked for this presentation because it seemed like there was a lot of misinformation out there about our lack of programs for the summer, et cetera, on Facebook, which I don't pay too much credence to, but I still thought it was important that the public know that we do have a lot of programs going on this summer through our Recreation Department, and they are all over the city, North End, South End, and Mid-City. So look for the brochure. I'm sure that you will find something to do for your children. And we will move on now to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council on anything either on the agenda or under which we have control, they're welcome to come to the podium. This would be your time to speak. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Phil Solfa. I live at 1418 Gordon Street. Couple bones to pick, I guess. One, Mr. Freed, how long you've been manager in this city?
Well, we don't usually go back and forth with questions. You have comments, but he's been here for 3
Good, I
years.
have a comment. Why would the city manager come out on Martin Luther King, day after, chastise garbage men for running that day? He says, she says, I'm not gonna go there. He's been here approximately 3 years. He should know what the holiday schedule is. To even confront the garbage men is out of line. There's protocols for this. Number 2, Mr. Freed. It's announced that you get a raise, and then a week after, you're up for consideration in Grand Rapids? Was this a blackmail job or what?
This is not, these are comments to the council. We're not into a back and forth against them.
I'm speaking out loud. I'm allowed to express my opinions.
You can express your opinion, but it's not a question and an answer. It's not personal.
Not yet. And third and finally, you know, I see here that you've pretty much surmised who's going to get the contract for the Port Huron trash business. This is unilateral for me because I work for the company also. But be it far known, I will be going to the federal prosecutor. We're going to bring up an issue like they did with Rizzo. I think there's collusion going on. I've seen my competitor buying vehicles and manpower for the past 3 months. Why would somebody do that? Not preparing for a contract unless they know they're getting it. I'm going to find the evidence for it, and Mr. Freed is going to be at the top of the list.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening? You're welcome to come forward, give your name, and you've got 4 minutes. Seeing no one else, I'll declare public comment closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Mayor Rep,
Yes.
you already hit the support. I just like to remove Resolution 18058, 18059, and the ordinance 18007 from the consent agenda.
Then we have 2 items.
Yep.
2-8. We did have a motion and a second, so we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Those 2 items are recognizing April 27th as Arbor Day in the city of Port Huron and giving second reading and enactment to an ordinance to amend Chapter 50 Waterways of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of modifying the operating schedule that governs the Military Street Bridge, 7th Street Bridge, and 10th Street Bridge. And now we will go to, from the city manager, number 1.
Accepting the bid from Mterra Environmental in the estimated amount of $9,638,493.02 for unlimited solid waste collection services citywide, including disposal services for 100 Merchant Street and 1808 Bancroft Street for a 5-year period beginning July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2023.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb, could we please have a,
Madam Mayor and Council, I'm going to ask Lenny to come up tonight and to give you a brief explanation of our bid process and what you have before you as he led this process.
Okay, Madam Mayor, Council, Mr. Freed, for those at home and in the audience, there's a projection on the wall back here showing the packet that I've distributed to the council prior to this meeting. Would like to discuss the nature of this contract. It's one that we do every 5 years. The current contract with Marcotte expires on 30 June 2018. They've been working for the city for 5 years, and they have done a very good job. I'm well pleased. I was happy to hear that they were one of the bidders for this new contract. The solid waste contract, we have a 5-year, 4 major elements of the contract include the fact that we're going to collect solid waste curbside from all the residents and commercial establishments within the city. We will have a curbside recycling program, a yard waste program, and a curbside leaf vacuum pickup. The primary program objectives for this new contract, I established that we want to, first off, consolidate all of the services for municipal locations within the city. We currently have a patchwork of existing contracts throughout all of the city's locations and wanted to put them all under one contract. Second item, we wanted to control the costs for the city, which is one of the things you do when you rebid a contract. And lastly, we want to maintain a high level of service for all of the city's residents. The current service for solid waste is unlimited. There is no limit on the amount of trash or rubbish that can be disposed of curbside currently within the city. This map shows the locations that are currently, that are being asked to be collected within the city, the municipal locations. Some of these were not included in the previous contract. And I'll give you an example. The North End Service Center is the location that Parks and Recs uses to collect all the trash from the parks, the beaches, the docks, all the other places that within their purview, and they bring it up there, and currently that is collected by Waste Management. We felt it would be incumbent, it'd be actually better for the city, we put all of these under one contract, and we are. Another example of a contract that we're going to put into this is McMorran, which is currently now another contractor. But what you see here are all the locations within the city that are going to be serviced by this new contract. There were, for the solid waste contract, we have three major bid options we wanted to use to explore the best value for the city. The first option was a limited solid waste pickup. The second option was an unlimited solid waste pickup, which reflects what we currently have. And the third option, we wanted to explore the use of automated residential waste collection technology. You may know it as Herbie-Kirby, but this is a system that's being used throughout the country, throughout the state of Michigan, and we wanted to see how it stacks up in terms of value for our citizens. In a little bit more detail, option one, we limited all the residents to 4 containers, 35-gallon containers, or 8 trash bags. That would be a limit that is not currently being realized. We also limited them to one bulk item or one white good, which is a utensil or, not a utensil, but, yeah, washer, dryer, things of that nature. Currently, there's no limit. We would have recycling containers, 18-gallon. Currently, we're using 16. 18 is actually a more standard size. Yard waste, up to 15 compost bags, and we'll have a fall curbside leaf vacuum pickup for all the residents. The commercial, we limited to 2 containers of 35-gallon capacity and a fall leaf side vacuum pickup. The second option, we would have an unlimited number of 35-gallon capacity trash containers and an unlimited number of bulk items or white goods. The curbside recycling and the yard waste and the leaf vacuum pickup would remain unchanged for the residents and the commercial. Finally, under option 3, we envisioned one 95-gallon capacity container, which is standard in the industry, one bulk item white good, and the remainder of the recycling, yard waste, and curbside leaf vacuum pickup, which would remain unchanged from the first options. Now, when we met with our contractors in a pre-bid meeting, we had 3, but unfortunately only 2 decided to offer bids. We would have liked to see a third, but we got 2 bidders, and we're quite happy that they were actually quite close, and they're both very, very responsible companies. We are recommending the option 2, which we think presents the best value for the city, the highest value for the dollar. And if we do option 2, then Marcotte is approximately $1.1 million higher over 5 years, which is about 12% than Emterra. And like I said, the current service is unlimited, and if we want to maintain the current service status quo, then that would be option 2. The limitations that this contract represent include, we're estimating 10,373 residential structures throughout the city would fall under this contract. There are 900 commercial structures that would also be able to avail themselves of this service. The structures that are not serviced, they would have no solid waste, recycling, or yard waste, include apartments, large condominiums, there are 22 of those, public housing apartments, there are 4 of those, adult care facilities, 2, structures with 5 or more rental units, there's 48 of those, and the downtown lofts. Now, another change that we're making, the Leaf Vac program currently is somewhat limited. We're going to extend that to every city street, regardless of who is on that street, so that the primary benefit for the Leaf Vac program is really the city. We keep those leaves out of our storm system, and we don't have to go back in later with a vac truck and clean them out. We'd rather them be collected on the street in the fall rather than from the storm sewer in the middle of the spring. With that, I invite your questions.
Are there questions from council?
Madam Mayor, before we just to clarify, one of the reasons why we're recommending option 2 to maintain the status quo rather than limiting pickup is, and we have learned that, and we believe that if we limit the option to get rid of these bulk items and trash, that would contribute to a blight issue. We don't want trash ending up in alleyways, ending up in the street, or blighted objects. And so we felt that the cost differential between option 1 and option 2, given what it would cost in additional blight enforcement by not having that option, would be detrimental to the cities. That was part of the reason why we went with option 2, to maintain what we currently have. We also implemented a recycling fee of $25 several years ago to help maintain the program. And so we felt it would not be fair to charge $25 and also limit the program.
Mayor Rep.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Yeah, and I also would like the city manager to address, I know we change out and change in on a short-term basis, and really, I'm probably answering my own question, and I know that is trending all across America, so can you speak to that?
Actually, a better qualified person to speak to that would be Lenny.
Oh, Lenny.
Lenny, can you speak to the competitive nature of trash hauling contracts and how the city has gone with several different firms over the years?
It's my understanding that as long as the current staff has been in operation, we have managed to have a bid and change our contractor every single five-year period. It's not something that we're looking to do, we want to do. I'd be happy to keep going with the same contractor, but it's just been the history that we do that. The field for waste collection is very competitive out there. I was happy to get two very competitive, very qualified firms. The third firm that didn't bid, we could only speculate why they chose not to. We just think they didn't like our leaf vacuum option. They've expressed reservations about that in the past. We'll keep that in mind in 5 years when we redo this.
Okay, well, I'm not disputing it, because I know there are some other factors that are baked into this. Is there anything else, according to your expert knowledge, as to why we do this? Change every 5 years?
You get companies that want to come in, they want to get their foot in the door, and they will sharpen their pencils. I can't say that they're making a mistake. They seem to do that every 5 years.
Oh, okay, well, let me educate you. Well, in my research, sometimes, the reason municipalities do this every 5 years, they change in and change out, is because of the law provisions, and it gives them more flexibility in there if something should happen to change. You know how the environmental world is going these days. So it would really give us the edge, you know, to turn that over and be able to work better. And also there's, what else? In our municipal bylaws, we can actually cover that in the future by making that a part of our bylaws to actually already do this. And so when companies are with us, they won't be, you know, just upset, oh, well, we changed them out, and for whatever reason are we doing that? So we would be covered by law, you know, according to what we do up here as a council. So that is a future option that we want to entertain if we aren't already in that position. So do you have that knowledge? You have that knowledge? Is it a part of any law we have?
No.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Lenny, you answered my question.
Hey, Rep.
Councilmember Harris.
I've had some discussion with the city manager and the engineer in the last couple of weeks and a half, and my biggest question is the stability of the program with the new contractor. You know, unbeknownst to me until in the last week or so that the current recycling place for Mterra out there is under a citation that's supposed to be taken care of by the end of April 30th on 2018 for the inability to handle recycled materials within the building. And I just kind of, my big question is, where's our fail-safe if this doesn't work?
Well, first, let me reassure the council that Mterra is highly qualified. In fact, I understand they started their company many years ago as a recycling company, and that is where their emphasis has been for years. They expanded and broadened into solid waste, and they're actually well represented throughout this region. The citation you're talking about is not an uncommon thing to have happen, especially when they take a lot of material, more than they may have planned for, and they have to work through that. That's a good thing. That's better than having a recycling center that doesn't have enough material, they can't make any money, and it starts going downhill. So I can't speak to the particulars on where they are with that particular location, but I'd be happy to investigate and find out. I know what you're talking about, but I'm not familiar with their particular operation.
Yeah, well, in fact, it's probably been much of a learning curve for me in the past week or so, too, because first I thought it was a recycling center, and I noticed that they've been kind of unkind to the neighborhood out there with the amount of recycling that was coming out almost into the parking lot area. But come to find out that basically it's not even a recycling facility, it's basically a transfer station for recycling. And I guess we spoke to that in the past couple of years. Recycling doesn't have the market it's had many years ago, and I think Marcotte has gone through the same issues that Emterra is having as far as what are they doing with the material. My understanding, there's only one place in Michigan that accepts recyclables right now. And I guess my big question is not the $1 million that we're going to save. I mean, we're going to save a lot of money, and it's good, but I just want to make sure that we're going to save this amount of money during the 5 years of the contract. So I know as a council member, I'll keep an eye, and I'm sure you will too, and to make sure that things go in the right direction. But I think we can't react too quick on some of these issues like this because it's a long-term effect on our environment. So, but with that, thank you.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes, Councilmember
Len,
Ruiz.
there are times when I've noted, and I think Marcotte has done an excellent job over the past 5 years in terms of meeting their obligation. And as Ken said, $1 million, and when we're looking at budget, it's a substantial amount that we just cannot ignore that we might save. When there are places in our city, and it looks like there's vacated buildings, be they apartments, be they whatever, I couldn't tell you because I don't stop and ask, but it looks like there may be enough trash out there for the whole block. And then if it's a bad day, which we get the wind and such, it's all over the place. How does Marcotte, how is Emterra going to be, how do they handle that, if I may ask? Them? Should have asked it a long time ago, I guess, but do they just go out and do that, or is there a penalty for these people who do that? I'm sorry.
That's okay. To their credit, Marcotte has responded to those, and they've sent additional crews, additional vehicles to pick up everything that is curbside. That's what the nature of the contract says, and they have done that. We had a meeting with Emterra a few weeks ago and made sure they understood that that's the nature of this particular contract, and they are well aware that when we say you pick up everything, that means you pick up everything.
Should we look at that as a city, that there has to be some kind of obligation on the household or whatever it happens to be, that they just can go through the house and throw it out there?
Well, that's one of the reasons.
That's acceptable to you?
Well, that's one of the reasons, sir, that we explored option one in detail to say, if we were to limit the household, we didn't feel that 95% of the households would find any problem at all with meeting the limit. But every week, it appears that there are a handful or a dozen homes, probably rentals or evictions, in which the entire contents of that house are disgorged onto the boulevard. And that's the nature of this contract. If we were to go with the limited, that wouldn't be able to happen. And as Mr. Fried has noted, I think historically we've had a pattern where a lot of this garbage would end up in the alleys. And we've had blight issues in the past in which if they can't put it on the street, they'll put it in the alley, they'll find some
Place to put it.
some vacant lot, and that's what ends up happening.
I see your point, because I remember the spring cleanup and the fall cleanup, and my gosh, it was unbelievable. So I appreciate the plan we have going. And this is a minor one when we talk about recycling, and it's interesting to hear what Ken had to say about recycling now. Through Marcotte, there was the regular tubs that are allowed for recycling. They also had an option where you were able to pay a fee where if you wanted the large one, which I think goes to your pickup if we ever went to that. Is that available through Emterra?
It is available, but it's not something that the city is going to pay for. When
No,
we
they
discuss
don't
with
do it
them,
now. They have
That
to pay
that they can
individual.
offer that and offer a larger
Right, okay.
recycling bin, yes.
Thanks.
Mayor, Councilmember Archibald.
Lenny, is there provisions in this contract for increases in waste dumping or anything like that? Or is this a set contract, a set fee, and over the 5 years, regardless of what happens, this is what we're going to pay?
Well, when you say increases, you mean in the volume or the number of residences?
I mean, in the dumping fee, so volume,
If
the
the-
per
if-
pound dumpage, whatever, if there's any increases, I
Yes.
assume we're using the county, will that then come back onto us, or do they have to take care of any of those increases?
I think what you're referring to is the tipping fee at
Tipping
the
fee, thank you.
St. Clair County landfill.
I call it a dumping
Yes.
fee.
The tipping fee, if the tipping fee is to increase, then that increase comes back to the city.
It does. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Rupp.
Councilmember Warden.
So I don't know, is it possible to go back a couple slides there? And, oh, no, sorry, just go forward one, I'm sorry, right here. Yeah, that one. So a couple questions, I guess I picked up on this, is that you mentioned that municipal, different locations prior actually had other contracts for the solid waste. You mentioned a couple other, North End and McMorran. And do you have an idea of roughly how much that was separately? Because
Volume or cost?
just cost, first of all.
We were looking at that. It's hard to nail down, but we have an estimate, a conservative estimate, is about $100,000 a year.
Okay. So the question I have is the prior, I'm looking up here at apartment and condominium complexes and structures over 5 rental units in downtown. Was the previous contract, did it include the trash pickup for the current?
All these items were excluded in the previous contract, except the structures were 6 or more rental units. And we've narrowed it down to 5. And these
Okay.
are elements that pay a single tax fee, and they're getting 4 pickups for that.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know, because, some of the grandfathered in older homes that have, more units, I didn't know if anything was changing on, their ability to service, or if they had to get their own contract or something going. Yeah, that's, I guess the main thing is, I just, considering the other things that are included, and then to have at least 2 bidders come in, do you want to share, I think you told me, or might have mentioned, how much the previous contract cumulatively was that's expiring for the 5 years that's current, that's coming up for an end, and do we have a rough idea?
The contract, when you include all the other elements that, and there were adjustments both to the number of residents, and there was a fuel tax adjustment, there were a number of adjustments, tipping fees. The total came to a little over $9 million for the 5 years.
So this looks like actually pretty competitive increase, modest increase, I guess, for a comparable, and that is $1.1 million less over 5 years for, again, the similar service for the next 5 years. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to appreciate you taking that approach and the 3 different options as well, kind of putting it out there. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion from council? I guess I would just like to say, I think it was kind of asked but not really answered, was if something were to happen with this contract, because I know in past histories, we did have that happen once where we had a 5-year contract with someone and they defaulted on it, and we had to get someone else. And I just kind of, there are provisions in the contract, I assume, because I know back then there were provisions in order if they had to pay, and we got this other person, but the next bidder is what we did.
We have a performance bond requirement that's included, which if there was to be a default, we would secure the bond
Yeah.
and have to hire somebody else.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're protected. And you did say that we do have other communities in the area that use Mterra?
Yes, ma'am. They're used from Ann Arbor, Flint. There's a number of other communities throughout eastern Michigan. They also have a presence in Canada. Is there an Mterra rep? No.
Marysville as well.
Marysville?
Yes, and they are well regarded. They do have a good presence in the local area, and they are well established.
Okay. Yeah, I would also like to say that Marcotte has done a wonderful job over the past 5 years. I have no complaints whatsoever, and it would be nice if they were the low bidder, and we could continue with it, but we can't ignore over $1 million. And obviously, unless we went to a limited pickup, and I don't think our residents want to go to a limited pickup, and I would agree that with the blight issues, yeah, if we did have a limited pickup, it doesn't mean it would stop people from putting it out, and the next thing you know, we'd have real issues. So unfortunately, we do have to be responsible with the city's money, and make the right decision accordingly. So thank you for answering questions, and we will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Move on to item 2 under from the city manager.
Accepting the proposal from Watson's Brothers Company in the amount of $175,000 for the removal and replacement of natural gas-fired boilers at the water filtration plant.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald, is there discussion? No discussion, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to resolutions, and before the clerk reads them, I would like to suggest that we do, because they're all collective bargaining agreements, 1 through 5, together, unless council has an objection.
Mayor Rep, I would like to keep 5 on the regular agenda.
Just 5 separately, okay.
Yep,
1 through
please.
4, no other objections? Okay, we'll do 1 through 4 together.
Okay, approving a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Port Huron Firefighters Association through June 30th, 2021. Approving a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement with Command Officers Association of Michigan through June 30th, 2021. Approving a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Port Huron Police Clerical Association through June 30th, 2021. And approving a new 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the City of Port Huron Utility Workers Supervisor Unit through June 30th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. I wonder if we could just have a comment from Julie Davis, our Human Resource Director?
Mayor Rep and council members, you have before you the 4 collective bargaining agreements. These agreements include changes to their pensions, their health care, and wage adjustments, and they are consistent throughout all of the agreements. At this time, I would personally like to thank the Union Executive Board members, the union members, and the union members and their business agents for working with management to settle these agreements. I truly believe we have great partnership with our unions, and they do understand the need that we have to reduce our unfunded liabilities.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Julie?
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to say thank you to Julie and Ed for their good relationship that they've developed. These types of agreements don't happen overnight. It's because of a long-standing relationship built on trust and open communication that Julie has established. Julie, do an excellent job. One of my peers actually said that Julie was one of the best HR directors in the state of Michigan. And I tend to agree. I also want to say to the men and women of the city of Port Huron, thank you for your sacrifices continually. To the citizens of Port Huron, you passed a public safety millage that gave us an additional $2.2 million of revenue. The employees of Port Huron met you more than halfway. They also took more than about $10 million of concession and pension costs. And also wage freezes and health care costs as well. So we appreciate the citizens of Port Huron standing up to make that investment, and I want them to know that their investment was met with the employees coming to the table as well, meeting them more than halfway, and so that can help provide a viable, financial, stable future for this city. And so I just want to thank both of them.
Thank you. Any other comments from?
Mayor Rep.
Yes.
If I could, I'd just like to thank the city manager for saying that, especially to their bargaining groups and those people, when it sounds like, I'm glad you clarified the fact that we get the millage and we're not just handing this over to our bargaining units, because that's not the case. They have sacrificed, and I appreciate their bargaining with us in good faith, and you've represented as well. Thank you.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Yeah, I'd too like to join them again. I know I've expressed this in a closed meeting, but I'd too like to congratulate you and to tell you that we are most appreciative of you, of the job that we have to do in representing our citizens, the way that you and Ed had set yourself up to play quarterback, and then working with the unions, and it's just no easy job trying to sit down. There's an amount of trust that has to take place, and certainly through the collaboration and the cooperation, that is a key element that you all have established, and it takes us all to get together to help run our city and to just to go where we need to go, and especially addressing our unfunded liabilities going forward in the foreseeable future. So thank you so very much.
I'd just like to ask the city manager to comment on, the employees, yes, are getting a modest increase, but that's with giving up a lot, and if you could comment on how much dollar-wise that we're actually going to.
With these new agreements, our unfunded liability will be dropped by more than $10 million on the pension side. Our annual contribution on the pension side will drop more than $800,000. On the healthcare side, our healthcare savings is about $300,000. At minimal, not factoring in the cost of the reduction of the FAC, is at least $1.1 million on an annual basis, at least. So it's a significant savings for the city.
Thank you, and thank you to all your hard work and the unions for coming forward. Thank you.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Ward.
Julie, I want to thank you and the staff and the union reps for all coming to the table on these negotiations. Again, the first thing is, just recognizing the giving in a little bit and understanding the future here for Port Huron for the unfunded liabilities when it comes to pension calculations and the demands of that liability. So I want to thank each of the every member of the union that it represents and the guys that collectively bargained for taking that hit on the pension side and the calculation side. Also, stepping up to hopefully, a lot of our staff and people in these different categories that represented, the wages, they really haven't for a lot of years had pretty stagnant regular wages, and I think part of this give and take, again, to come to an agreement gives, the core solid employees that make our city work, a lot less numbers doing the same job as, 100 more just 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's quite amazing. So this does give them, a little modest increase, so to say, in their salary and wages. So I think that was kind of a win-win, and I just wanted to say it's great, and hopefully they're happy employees, and us up here, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? We will take the vote on items 1 through 4.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Under resolutions, item 5.
Authorizing the city manager to grant non-union employees a salary adjustment and/or to require additional merit consideration to be effective for the pay periods beginning June 23rd, 2018, June 22nd, 2019, and June 20th, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Harris.
I totally agree with the first part of this here, the 2.5% for the first 2 years of the contract and the 2.2% for the third year of the contract, which starts in June of 2020. I guess what I don't understand and I would have a problem with is that it also requires or allows it says or to require additional merit consideration. I just, when we've got into this arena of merit consideration, it's kind of a judgment type program and stuff, and I don't know if I would like to see that in city government or not. Like I say, I totally agree that our staff requires and needs the percentage wages, but I just right at this time, I wouldn't be able to support the rest of this proposal, so.
I'll let Mr. Freed answer that, but I do know from history that's been the same statement that's been in them for probably, well, I can tell you over 30 years.
Yeah,
So-
there's nothing new in this that we haven't done in every contract that every time we adopt collective bargaining agreements, this is the same language we allow for our non-union employees. This has similarly represents the ability, gives Julie the ability, if we want to merge jobs, create jobs, or create different categories, it provides Julie the ability to do that, and this is nothing new.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, we'll move on to item 6, please.
Approving the third amendment agreement with Desmond Marine LLC to operate the River Street Marina through February 27th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Mr. Freed, could you kind of tell us what this one's about?
Yep, Madam Mayor and Council, I've met with Atchison Ventures and Desmond Marine. Desmond Marine is doing an excellent job running our marina. I have heard nothing but positive comments from the boaters and the city residents about that. The customer service has been just top-notch. They are doing an excellent job of running it efficiently and cost-effectively. And so this is a simple 3-year amendment, very similar to what we did 3 years ago, that allows for the same 50-50 split in our operating profits. And we expect that they've done a good job of reducing costs, increasing slip revenue and sales. So by providing better customer service, more people want to put their boats there, more people are going to buy fuel there, and so we're seeing increased revenue and profit sharing from this agreement, and so I recommend just a simple 3-year extension.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on council?
Mayor Rep?
Yes, Councilmember
Just a
Harris.
comment, you know, they've done a phenomenal job the past few years here, but I guess the one that keeps coming back and stuff is the issue, and I don't know how they handle it, but with our geese and duck population on the area down there, it's got to be a tremendous burden on them, and I don't know, is there anything we can do to help them to make it a little more inviting down there for our boaters and things like that? I know Marysville's tried different programs to relieve this problem, but it's definitely is an issue, and I think if there's some way we could help them, it'd be nice also, but.
I have, Councilman Harris, I have been a city manager now for 10 years. In 10 years, I have been at a waterfront community, and for 10 years, I have been waging a war against the Canadian geese, and every year I lose. Whether it be string, cherry extracts to spray on the grass. One year, we rounded up thousands of birds, and I don't know where they drove them to, but they flew back the next week. I have seen it all. It's becoming a really bad issue with the boat launches. I was recently, out in front of the Blue Water Bridge trying to launch my drone. Couldn't find a clean space because the geese pooped there. It is a battle which we will continue to fight with them, but we will lose. But the goose is they're just overpopulated. I encourage residents, we have some new signs going up along the boardwalk. Please do not feed the geese. They are cute, but they will keep coming back to where they are fed. It's hopefully some educational signage the mayor brought to my attention a couple months ago. That's why other communities are deployed. But yeah,
That's a positive reaction because that is a problem.
it is.
Yeah, thank you.
It is.
As long as they'll be fed, they'll come back.
So the answer to his question is we don't have a resolution.
No, I've not found it. We're still looking. I have a solution, but the law won't allow it. But
Oh, okay.
Not an allowable solution.
I was just
not an
wondering.
allowable solution.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mayor Rep?
Councilmember Warden.
Was there any, I guess, discussion from Desmond Marine of any changes that they wanted, or is this pretty much the exact same agreement, just extended for another 3 years?
My conversations with Desmond was I wanted to clarify what the allowable expenses are. They felt confident that we were on the same page. I feel very confident as well. They have demonstrated continuing growth in revenue, which is why we pretty much, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've done an excellent job. Revenue's increasing. More boaters are coming to this area. We're no longer just a transient marina. We have become a destination marina. I contribute that in part to the good, excellent customer service they're providing down there.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, I truly appreciate, and Desmond Marine has done such an outstanding job, and we're very fortunate to have this agreement, and the proof is in the pudding of them managing the marina, and, it's nice to see another 3-year extension. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, we will proceed with the vote.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution number 7.
Receiving the proposed 2018-19 budget and scheduling a public hearing for May 14th, 2018, to hear public comments from interested citizens on the proposed budget.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Archibald and Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, and Mr. Freed is going to give us a brief presentation.
Excellent. I have a PowerPoint. I'll go over briefly here. So I first and foremost want to say that I have been a city manager for 10 years. For 10 years, I have never started out a budget process with a balanced budget. In 10 years, going through the recession, then coming to the city of Port Huron, we have started this process out with a balanced budget. That is 100% credited to the citizens of this great city, standing up and providing us the additional funds to protect our public safety in parks and recreation. The budget I have brought you tonight and passed out. For the citizens of Port Huron, this will be available on www.porthuron.org/open-government. It is available now for download. My personal number to my office is 984-9740 with any questions you have, and I will answer your questions as well. We bring you a budget tonight that protects the police and fire, and it protects parks and recreation. Additionally, it funds much-needed capital in our parks and recreation, specifically at McMorran, whether it be cooling towers, strategic investments in LED lighting in the arena, also replacing equipment in our fire department and our police department, the replacement of their patrol cars and their fleet. We have a $400,000 fire truck, which we took possession of this week. It will be online after they take a couple weeks to put the hoses on it and all that stuff, and it'll take a couple weeks. But again, our property taxes, our income taxes stay stable. Our revenue and our property taxes, because the millage has increased. And that gives you a snapshot, $24,852,000 in revenue for the general fund, with expenditures the same. Police and fire making up about 39%, 39% for police, 21% respectively for fire. Parks and recreation at $2.6 million. What's important about this is there's no cuts. We are protecting the status of forces, both in the police and fire department. We are keeping our 3 fire stations open. We are keeping McMorran open, reinvesting into McMorran, reinvesting in our parks and recreation. This presentation I'm giving tonight would not have been possible. I take great pause in considering where would we be had those millages failed. To be quite frank, it would be nothing like tonight. After all this is said and done, we will surplus on a $24 million budget, $270,000, which will be transferred to the land purchase fund. That will be available to continue a financial stability plan for the next 5 years. We have made commitments under our public safety millage for additional police officers and protecting of our resources. That $270,000 will move to the land purchase fund, so in the out years we can ensure that we are able to fulfill our commitment and promises to the citizens of Port Huron. The reason why we moved to the land purchase fund is the general fund is a monitored fund by the bond agencies. Any money that goes in, it is difficult to remove without damaging our credit rating. So we move it to an unmonitored fund, which is the land purchase fund, for safekeeping and holding until we need it in the out years. Again, that budget will be available for download this evening for those who want to download it. We're available for questions. There's a lot to process tonight, but I always feel it's important to give the opening remarks so the citizens know what we're presenting them tonight. And the budget has no cuts, no reductions. We have done exactly what we pledged and committed to our residents that we would do if the millage is passed, and the budget delivers on that. Additionally, I want to thank Ed Brennan and Bobby Seppo and the entire finance team, and with all the department heads and the division heads. These budgets are built from the ground up, meaning the supervisors and the department heads start assembling their costs, and it goes to the finance department for assembly, then it comes to my office through vetting and the process we go through for cuts and removals and all that. But it really comes to a budget that reflects the needs of the boots on the ground. And so to the police officers, the firefighters, the Parks Recreation, the streets crew, who all work together to bring those needs, I also want to thank Lenny. He is in charge of assembling our capital improvement plan, which you will have next. But that capital improvement plan is important for multi-year budgeting. We're not just looking 12 months ahead, we're looking at the big picture. So there's a reason why we adopt our budget with our capital improvement plan. We show that long-term perspective on strategic financial planning for the city of Port Huron. So thank you to Ed and your leadership. He's done an excellent job.
And that's to make sure of the alignment with the budget, the
Correct.
capital improvement. Okay.
Correct. And we want to make sure that we're being thoughtful in whether it be a street project or a water project, that if we have a street that needs to be redone, but the water department says, that water main needs to be looked at, we look at a holistic approach to when we go to a street, let's look at everything that's underneath it before we replace it.
Thank you. Is there any comments from council? All we're doing tonight is receiving the budget, and our next step will be to hold the public hearing on May 14th, and then we do have a workshop that's May 16th, and that'll be up for adoption 2 weeks after. So right now, we're just receiving it and scheduling the public hearing.
Mayor Rapp?
I'm sorry for asking that question before you open it up.
That's okay.
This is right.
Did you have something?
Yeah, just, we just voted yes to four different collective bargaining agreements, which, of course, have some wage and base rate increases. And is it reflected in the budget already? This one, that you're...
Yes, we
prepared?
did take that into consideration.
All those?
Yeah.
All of them? Okay. Okay, I'll be looking forward to thoroughly review it, that's for sure. Thank you for putting this together and getting it to us.
Thank
Get
you.
started on it.
And again, for the citizens, if you want to flip through it at home and any questions, just feel free to call.
I'd just like to say that is, James, this is a very outstanding job, and as you know, that's one of your strong points, and we look forward to that. And to complement that strong point is Ed and the financial staff. I mean, they really work good together with these numbers. So I'm not as worried about going forward, and our financial accountability, like we all have been really addressed previously, even before we get here to the council chamber, so we can really understand what he's talking about. So I just want to say thanks, Mayor, and thanks to you.
I echo your remarks, and we will take a vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Item 8.
Receiving the proposed capital improvement program and scheduling a public hearing for May 14th, 2018, to hear public comments from interested citizens on the proposed capital improvement program.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Mayor Rapp?
Councilmember Warden?
Reason why I just pulled it off the consent agenda is I just wanted to hear a little feedback. This went through the Planning Commission first?
Under the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, all capital improvement plans are required to go to the Planning Commission for a vote before they can be incorporated into the budget, so yes.
So I just wanted to hear if there was any feedback, any comments in that process, and, if has there been any major changes to point out?
Mayor Rapp?
Councilmember Archibald?
Unless Mr. Haynes would like to come up, I can say that it did go to planning and there were no issues, but
You're fine, David.
if you would like to
I don't
hear
think you have
from,
You're fine.
no?
Unless you have something.
Unless you have something to add?
We're going to get Lenny.
Instead.
The capital improvement plan is assembled by Lenny. He brings it to the Planning Commission.
Mayor, Council, the capital improvement plan will be going to the next special session of the Planning Commission, which will occur before the May 14th meeting. So this is an introduction. It will be reviewed and hopefully approved by the Planning Commission at its next meeting.
And
What date was that? I'm sorry. Did you say it was going?
May 8th.
Okay.
It cannot be incorporated into our budget until they formally vote on it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, real quickly, just to point out, for those at home who are going to look at this, or any of you guys, some of the projects in there seem kind of pie in the sky. They're long-term goals, like a fire station or a police station. We intentionally put those into our plan, so when we apply for grant funding, the grant, whether it be a state agency or a granting body, will say, well, is this a part of your master plan? So some of those projects, although we don't have a lot of funding, we put them in there so we know this. We can tell people when we apply for a grant, yes, this is a part of our plan, in case we get lucky with the grant.
Or someone gives us a lot of money.
Yes.
We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 9, please.
Receiving the proposed 2018-19 Downtown Development Authority budget and scheduling a public hearing for May 14, 2018, to hear public comments from interested citizens on the proposed budget.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmembers Archibald and Lamb. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Warden.
I have pretty much the same just inquiry of, as far as this is the DDA. In order to, this initial one, did they already have any comments or input in this, and when is are they having another meeting before our next public hearing on this as well?
Yes, they'll be required by law to adopt this as well.
And when's the next meeting of the DDA for that?
May 15.
May 15th? Okay, and do you know what time is that, and where's that located?
8:30 in the morning, room 408.
Here? Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Rep?
Councilmember
If I may,
Ruiz.
just going back to the issue we had before with the capital improvement plan and this one as well, when they go through the planning committee and such, and if there are concerns, what happens with them?
All concerns that come, whether through the Planning Commission or to the Downtown Development Authority, we compile synopsis of the public comment, and then I bring that to council, typically in my biweekly reports or my monthly report, or in the resolution,
When would you do that?
at your budget work session.
And you've always done that, is that correct?
Every single year I've been here.
Thanks.
Thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Ordinance number 1.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 1 in general, Section 52-5, definitions R through Z, definition of transitional housing facility and/or homeless shelter, and Article 3, district regulations, Division 11, M1 Light Industrial District, Section 52-478, permitted uses after special approval of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of increasing the capacity of individuals allowed in a transitional housing facility and/or homeless shelter, and allowing new facilities and additions to facilities.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep?
Councilmember Warden.
My question is, since the first reading till now, was there any further feedback or submissions by any, anybody from the city, residents, or business community, or anybody regarding the first reading last meeting?
David says no.
No? Okay, thank you.
If there's no other discussion, then we will move on and take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Ordinance number 3.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 36 Parks and Recreation, Article 1 General of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of adding Section 36-9 to prohibit smoking in city parks and beaches.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, about 3 years ago, we initially started looking at the smoking issue in our city parks. And we were kind of ahead of the times. We made it a policy at the time that, no smoking is a policy, but we did not give it the teeth and strength of an ordinance. And that was pretty progressive at the time. And since that time, some people have respected it, but a lot of people haven't. And Nancy's come up here to talk about it, but we have had issues with thousands and thousands of cigarette butts in our public beaches and in our parks. We've also had issues with children getting burned in the previous season, whether that be coal from hookah or still hot cigarette butts in the sand or in the grass. And so it's become a safety issue now when we have such large crowds at our parks to just not have smoking or tobacco. We were hopeful that more people would abide by the policy that the council had set. But at this point, it's going to need to have the strength of the ordinance so that our officers are able to issue tickets for those who are smoking in our city parks and littering the butts. Nancy, do you want to come up and talk a little bit about, I think they did a cigarette butt cleanup day and all that, and she's going to talk about some of the statistics she has as well.
Okay.
Mayor Rep and City Council, as the Parks and Recreation Director, it's one of my jobs to bring things to you that affect the visitors and the residents that come to the parks. And allowing tobacco products is one of those things. We've seen, like Mr. Freed said, an influx of people. We've seen, cigarette butts everywhere where kids have burnt their hands. The worst ones are the coals, like he said, from the hookah. We had a 3rd-degree burn last year because what happens is they throw them in the grass and you can't see them when you're walking with bare feet. And we've had a couple burns in that regard as well. As Mr. Freed said, we brought this ordinance to you guys in 2015. And we were ahead of the curve at that time. And it was before it was becoming more popular, and at that time there wasn't a huge appetite to make this happen. Since then, in 2016, in May of 2016, the National Parks and Recreation Service has adopted this exact same ordinance. There is no tobacco smoking in any of their parks on a national level. In Michigan, cities, and this is just a partial list, but cities like Traverse City have adopted this, Lansing, Ann Arbor, major cities, Houghton, I got a whole list here of people that have adopted this same ordinance that we have. The Health Department has been very supportive in helping us gather data on this. They did a survey in 2016. They got about 100 back. 58% of the people that took the survey said they would like their beaches and parks tobacco-free. We also did, the Health Department has done a couple cleanups, butt cleanups over time. And in 2015, when we first started the policy, they collected over 4,000 butts between the playground area and the beach area. The policy has helped somewhat because last year they only collected 1,800. But we would like to see that, get even better. Obviously, it doesn't help the environment, doesn't help the fish, doesn't help, you can go on and on of the effects that the litter from this causes. So we just need to give it a little more teeth for, like Mr. Freed said, our officers, so that they can enforce it. And I think, we're blessed to have these beautiful parks and this beautiful park system, and we need to help keep it beautiful. So, again, I think now it's a little bit more widespread, I guess, with the National Parks and Recreation System adopting this, and I do think it'd be a great step for the city of Port Huron to take as well, as we're seeing so many more people visiting our park system. It's a safety concern as well. So.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Nancy, if I could, will our ordinance, you talk about putting teeth into it, and you talk about Traverse City and other places, will it mirror what they have in terms of the effectiveness or the strength of it?
Yes, when Todd drafted it for us, we did send him a couple samples from Lansing and I believe Ann Arbor as well, and he kind of mirrored some of the language that they used as well.
Did you get a chance to talk to them about enforcement of it and personnel that
Yeah.
put it in?
Some of it is education, which the health department has said that they will help us with. We've talked to the Chief Baker, and they're going to come down kind of heavily on for the first weeks, but some of it is too just, believe it or not, when we first put this in effect, a lot of people are like, yeah, good luck. But we've had people call, even visitors, that say, we've heard you have a no smoking policy on your playgrounds and your beaches. Is there somewhere where we can smoke? So there are people that do want to be mindful of it. I do think, I really believe that, because, I had a guy a couple weeks ago even say, can you smoke? It's like, so there are people that are mindful of it. Think of it when you go to a bar or restaurant, or even McMorrin, like, there's no smoking in certain areas, and most of the people are respectful of, well, where can I go? So enforcement, we'll do the best we can. Some of it's going to be self-enforcement. Some people will probably still be doing that, but I think hopefully the shame of the signs with the little kids, please. I love the signs they put up that just say, healthy lungs at play, and that's so true. Like, not too long ago, I was by the playground and somebody, dumped the coals right in front of where the slide comes down. It's like from a hookah, and it's not good, and it's not good for our kids to be seeing that either. So I think overall, hopefully we can.
Any other questions or comments for Nancy while she's standing up there?
Mayor Rep?
Yes, Councilmember
Just one
Harris.
comment, I totally agree with what we're trying to do here and stuff. I guess the only disappointment I have is you look at the health department, they were the champion to behind starting this program and stuff, and I don't see them here tooting their horn or getting behind it, but it's going to be a tough job. Like I say, the public perception is that it's wrong, but also the perception, smokers think they have the right, so it's going to be tough for the first few weeks, but I think it's a modern thing that we gotta
And I will
take up.
say, Councilman Harris, that Jen Mahalik, who is in charge of the smoke-free team for the health department, I talked to her multiple times. She's the one that gave me a lot of the data here that was here for tonight, but she couldn't be at this particular meeting, but has been super supportive in all the butt cleanups, and she's ran all the grant programs and the signage programs, and they've been really behind a lot of this, so I have to give them credit.
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to also ditto your comments on the health department. Councilwoman Harris, yeah, they're working behind the scenes. They
Yes.
haven't stopped, they haven't lost a beat, and
Good.
doing whatever they can with regularly kind of scheduled butt cleanups
Yeah.
and like you said, the grants, yeah.
And to do the study for us
Mhm,
last
and
year,
Study, yeah.
really helpful.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, Councilmember
Nancy,
Warden.
thank you. Just number one, process, this ordinance first reading here, did it go through Planning Commission or any other department to create this, or just kind of submit it in from you, from the
We-
Parks and Rec side?
Yeah, on our ordinances, we don't go through the planning commission. I guess I'll let Mr.
Well, that's
Ford-
okay.
Yeah.
No, I just was going to ask for a few, because I know a few years ago, there was something like this came up, and, wording was within 100 feet, and there was some feedback, and now I see that that's not in here, so it's kind of cool that you took the
Yeah.
feedback.
I think it was really just because it was before its time, we were one of the people before it got to be a little more.
Yeah,
So
so I did some research, and I definitely see there's an awful lot of cities, like you mentioned, Lansing, East Lansing, Ann Arbor. A lot of them have this non-smoking ordinance and, ban, so to say, in the public parks. And again, this is parks and beaches. I just wanted to see, or a question I have, is you mentioned Lake McMorrin, and city grounds, so to say. Is there, like, if somebody has a wedding reception at McMorrin, and people walk outside, but they're still on the city, now what's considered Parks and Rec now, is there a place for them to smoke if
Yeah, we've
somebody?
made designated to follow the county's rules, and I'm not sure on
Oh.
I can give you the amount of feet from the building.
Oh, okay.
But that's what we do at McMorrin, is we have a
Okay.
designated area within that county provision.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that would still stay the same.
yeah, well, I think it's going to be great to have our parks and our beaches to have an ordinance here with, no smoking. I think it's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other discussion? I was hoping what we did worked, but obviously it didn't. A little bit, but
It
not.
did a little bit.
Yeah,
It did a little bit.
so it looks like we're going to have to go to this, so, thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Ruff.
Yes, that concludes the agenda. A couple of announcements. We are having a special meeting to discuss the budget, as was mentioned earlier. It's Wednesday, May 16th at 5 p.m. in Conference Room 408, and it is open to the public. Also, we are having a community meeting on Thursday, April 26th, which is just a couple nights from now, at 6 p.m. at the Alger G. Harvey Reinvestment Center at 3013 24th Street. That will be to discuss possible future improvements to Knoxfield due to the fact that we received some grant funds to put into that particular place. So everyone is invited to attend and give their comments. And then I would like to just take a moment to congratulate James, Mr. Freed, on receiving the Young Michigander Award from the Michigan Junior Chamber of Commerce. He received it a week ago Saturday in Lansing, on which I was supposed to be there to see that, but that was the night of the ice storm, so I did not go, but congratulations. And I don't think a lot of people went to that award ceremony, but...
I think it's because I was getting the award, not the ice storm.
Yeah, the storm hit, but anyways, congratulations. You should be proud of your accomplishments. Is there anything else to come before the council?
Mayor Rapp?
Councilmember Warden.
I just want to say, now that for the schools, the weather's a little nicer today, and the spring sports all the way up, and spring activities have been started, from softball and track to a lot of the spring sports. But I also want a special, something I was pretty proud of to hear, and I attended our own, Port Huron Prowlers actually not only won the league, they started their playoff, the playoff series, and they won the first round series, and they're now in the championship, so to say, for the Cup, and it's a best of 5, and I was able to go over and attend. It was a great turnout for the city of Port Huron downtown. I stopped there, and it was a pretty good turnout, but it's Port Huron, and I found out who they're playing. It actually is New York. I mean, this team is based from New York, so I was pretty proud to say, hey, Port Huron versus New York, let's root them on and support it. That'll be a nice, if they can pull it through. So, but anyway, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I'm very proud of them, and it's something in our city that to be aware of going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting